Well, children, where there is so much racket, there must be something out of kilter. What's this all about anyway? I think 'twixt the Negroes of the South and the white women of the North all talking about rights. Somebody's going to be in a fix pretty soon. But what's all this here talking about? Well, that man over there say that women need to be helped into carriages and to be lifted over ditches and should have the best place everywhere. Well, nobody ever helps me in the carriages or helps me over ditches or gives me any best place. And ain't I a woman? Oh, I could work as much, eat as much as a man when I could get it, and bear the lash as well. And ain't I a woman? I've borne 5 children and see them most all sold off into slavery. And when I cried with a mother's grief, none but Jesus heard me. And ain't I a woman? That man back over there say women shouldn't have as much rights as men because Christ wasn't a woman. Well, where does your Christ come from? Where did your Christ come from? From God and a woman. Man had nothing to do with it. I say, if one woman could turn this world upside down all by herself, then all of us women here together can turn it right side up again. They's asking to do it, and the men had better let them.
Thank you for sharing
Oh,
that poem. And welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Mother to Son podcast. One
yes.
half of this show. I am Jaron Jones, and you are.
Sandra Jones.
Yes, and thank you for sharing that amazing poem. Now, tell us a little bit about that poem because we usually do the Mother to Son poem by Langston Hughes, but this time, was given the historical context, it was a little different, and we decided to take a different approach. So, what was that speech you just shared with us? Who did
Yes,
that,
it's a
and what
speech
was?
by Mother Sojourner Truth done in Akron, Ohio in the middle 1800s at a women's suffrage convention. So Sojourner Truth was an enslaved woman who had walked out of slavery.
Mm-hmm.
We talked a little about her the last podcast, and we'll share some more of her story going forward. But today we chose Ain't I a Woman speech because it's such a wonderful day that
Yes.
we're going to talk about a little more in a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, but yes, this was during a women's suffrage convention where women were fighting for the right to vote.
Mm.
And on this day, where we have learned how important our voting is, our voting rights are, how important they are, and what power the vote has. Oh, this is such a special and significant time right now, isn't it, Sharon?
It really is. It really is. And so,
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited, and really, elated to hear the news that our next vice president elect is Kamala Harris, our first Madam Vice President elect, which is very awesome. And so, and also very excited to for Joe Biden to continue his
Yes.
legacy of just the way that he conducts and carries himself. I'm very hopeful again, just in terms of kind of that unifier, and I think we've had some challenges where, like you said, seeing how many people showed up to vote, and seeing how everyone voted, it could feel that we're in a very divisive time. And so, with the announcements that came yesterday, Saturday, and from both, and the speeches done by both president and vice president elect, the messages of hoping to continue to get back to spaces of unifying us and having the needed conversations where we form an understanding. I don't know. I just missed that type of messaging. And it just
Yes.
feels good to hear that again, because I do think that it has a powerful role in how we operate as a country, how the world sees us, but also it empowers us, and it's just been really good to see, just how many people showed up, and Black women came through real good. I mean, y'all always do, but I'm just saying, we'll talk about a little bit later with the themes, but we know when you think of just all the women who helped push from voter registrations to, like you said, Sojourner Truth and the women's suffrage movement. We want to honor those stories and honor those individuals today. And so the episode title is Ain't I a Woman? And so we definitely wanted to start with that. Very excited to just be able to share some things and revisit some of those topics around Sojourner Truth, but also some of the great news that we heard over the past week. But before we get into our topic, we always do some check-ins and some updates on how we're doing. So one thing that we know that from our previous episodes is that we've definitely been on a health conscious journey. And so one of the things that we want to continue to do is share our updates, one with each other, but also so other people can also kind of, pull from it, and hopefully, also do those types of conversations with, their parent and children, and continue to create that process of, living a healthier life as a family. So, Ma, tell me about yourself. You're looking good.
Yes.
You're looking good over there. What you been doing? Tell me about
Thank you.
yourself. What you been up to?
Well, I changed my diet, and I did. I went vegan for about 6 weeks, and then I added fish to my to my diet.
Yeah.
And so I guess that's called pescatarian. Or so it doesn't matter to me. I added the fish.
Yeah,
I feel like I needed it, and I added it.
Yeah.
And but I still love all my vegetables, and I did stop eating the amount of fruit that I was eating, because I was just eating a big amount of fruit, and I know it has a lot of sugar in it. So for myself, it was just a choice that, I don't want to do too much sugar, even though I know it processes well, digests well, and is healthy.
Yeah.
I eat enough of it. But I recently got a slim cycle, a slim stepper. I'm sorry. I was looking at the slim cycle, but I got the it's a very it's a very small stepper. It powers up and down and twists to the left and to the right as you walk, and it's small. For my
get the
small
core
space.
Engaged. Okay.
Yes,
I like that. And you found it on Amazon, right? That's where you purchased it, for those who are also potentially looking for one. It looks pretty cool. I like, like it doesn't look like it's bulky and takes up a lot of space. So I'm glad to hear that it's working well for you.
I was able to put it together myself.
Hey, there you go. Well, you're a natural engineer anyway, so I'm not surprised that wasn't an issue or a challenge that you couldn't do. I've seen you build sets, so of course you can build a step. But that's cool. That's cool. How have you, in terms of, I know you're just now trying it out. How does that feel? Because usually when you work a new muscle group, it just like, woo, didn't know I have muscles there. So
I feel it. So I have incorporated some yoga stretches.
There you go.
Before I get on this thing. Because I'm like, woo, okay, I can't move. This is supposed to be it, but it's good. But another thing that I did, because I have this Zoom platform, I've started asking some of my friends, do you want to meet up in the morning, whether you have your cameras on or not? And we're going to be exercising together at the same time. It's just a matter of accountability and showing up for yourself. And so it's not, you don't have to, if you don't want anybody to see you exercise, no problem. We're just meeting up at the same time and working out together. So
I like it.
That's going to be great for me.
Yeah. That
because,
accountability group.
I live alone, and exactly.
And using technology, to
Mm-hmm.
continue to figure out creative ways to stay engaged and connected with people, I think is
Mm-hmm.
awesome. So, we have
It
the
is.
technology that allows us to not, though we're physically distant, we don't have to be socially distant. And so, that's cool to hear that you're figuring out
Mm-hmm.
ways to continue to build community through Zoom. And you all are learning how to use. I mean, you already knew how to use it
Mm-hmm.
because you're a teacher, but I think all the family members and even people who didn't think that they could learn how to use technology. Well, when you're forced to use it, it becomes the way of life, and
Yeah.
it's a new norm for us.
Mm-hmm.
I know we like to be in the same rooms and face to face, but we just make it work. We do what we got to
Mm-hmm.
do. So that's great. That's great.
That's right. When we thought we didn't want to learn all this technology, and now we're very grateful for it.
Yeah,
So
build a whole microphone
it's a good thing
studio.
to have.
Look at you, tech savvy over there. I see. I think for myself,
Well, I see you
yeah,
slimming down.
I'm trying to do a little
Uh-huh.
something, little something, something. I think similar to you, definitely changed eating habits, and I think for me, I think it's been the most, probably the best thing is just being consistent with the workout routine. So, I try to balance. I'll do medium weights in the morning, first thing in the morning, kind of like on a fasted, space. So before I eat breakfast, and that way when I eat my
Mm-hmm.
breakfast, it's fueling my muscles. But so that's been working well. And then in the afternoon, I'll try to do some form of cardio. And so my wife and I, Tari, we have a Team Beachbody subscription. It's kind of like Netflix for like working out. And so it tracks,
Mm-hmm.
what workouts you did during that week, how many calories you burned. It comes with like a coach and everything like that if you need it. We don't use it, but we just use it to diversify our cardio. So she's been doing like Insanity Max 30. So it's like 30 minutes of really good cardio. And I'll do that too, but I've learned, and she recognizes, she's like, you
Mm-hmm.
really like diversity in your experiences. And so she's like, I can tell you don't like the same thing over and over. And I was like, that's very true. And I'm glad she
Mm-hmm.
recognized that because that helped me to understand that I need to find other things. So they had a workout program that just was released, I think called 10 Rounds, and it's more of a boxing type workout. Really like that. So been doing
Ah.
that consistently. I think it pairs well with the
Mm-hmm.
lifting part because the lifting you can kind of feel tight, and then with the boxing it allows me to kind of extend the arms and all that other stuff and stay lean.
Yes.
So been good.
Mm-hmm.
Been doing a lot of carrot juice, beet juice, kale, spinach. Little throw it in the blender.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to drink my vegetables. But having like the leafy
Mm-hmm.
greens blended, and then the organic beet and carrot juice, kind of like
Okay.
for flavor, just to kind of liquefy the kale and the spinach. But it's been going pretty good. So I've been eating healthier and lighter, and can tell a difference.
Mm-hmm.
I realized how much I was overeating
Sure.
for what I'm doing. You don't really have to eat much,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you're not, out here lifting trucks and stuff. So it's like, why am I eating? Why am I eating like a football player and I'm not, doing,
Mm-hmm.
games for 2 hours? So eat for what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Fuel your body for what your
Yes,
body
a lot of
needs.
people.
Mhm,
Mm-hmm. A lot of people are talking about intermittent fasting now,
mhm,
and I see that that could be very easy for me. I
mhm,
haven't just consciously started doing that, but I have realized that when I eat when I'm hungry, I really eat about one meal a day,
mhm, mhm,
but I try to get my juices in.
mhm.
Hmm. But I'm
Yeah,
good with one good meal a day.
yeah. I can do.
Uh-huh.
I can do two. I can do two. So like in the morning, like that meal after the workout is actually a protein shake, and my multivitamins and stuff like that. And then probably about 2 hours later, I'll
Hmm.
do either green tea or like a black tea, and I'll put like powdered collagen in it, which is like a kosher form of
Hmm.
protein, and that gives me a few more calories, but also gives me more protein. And usually, I'll probably eat like my first meal like with like food probably around 1 or 2, and I eat dinner around 6 or 7.
Hmm.
And so yeah, like that fasted, like I felt once I worked out and continued that liquid diet, I guess you could say, up until my first meal, my body's just using what's already in the tank. And so it was working for
Mhm.
me.
Mhm.
When I first got to Florida, if you
Mhm.
remember, I was doing intermittent fasting um, when I lost all that
Mhm.
weight in one
Yes, I do.
semester. The challenge was it wasn't,
Mhm.
I wasn't able to do that on an extended period. So that's why I like, maybe it's a protein shake, maybe it's the tea with the collagen powder. That is
Mhm.
more realistic for my lifestyle versus when I went down to Gainesville. But just try it out, see what
Mhm.
works for you, you know. Yeah.
I did have some cookies for my dear friend's birthday,
Hey.
and they were good.
Yeah. Ain't nothing wrong with it. You celebrate, you're supposed to celebrate and not, you got to
Mhm.
keep things in there so you don't feel like you're not even enjoying
Yeah.
life, So,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
usually if you, stay consistent with everything else, you deserve a little, a little reward, a little something, you know.
Mhm.
Cool beans. All right. So after we do our little health journey check in and seeing how we are, we like to kind of check in and see, what are we reading or what are we watching on TV? So I'm gonna go first because I know you got a special book you want to share. So for me, I'm gonna go to an oldie but goodie. It's the first book that I wrote. Break Your Invisible Chains. I wrote this with Brandon Telg and Carly Barnes and our nonprofit Self Narrate, and it's based off of my doctoral research. I have how storytelling can really help you develop yourself and develop community as well. But I really started looking at these questions again because Brandon and I have been open to a couple of consultations that we're going to be doing within the next couple of weeks, little workshops that we do. And just made me realize, we're close to the end of the year. So I like to revisit the questions
Mhm.
in this book. It's available on Amazon as well. Proceeds go to the nonprofit, Self Narrate Incorporated. But it helps you to kind of just, level set, see where you are, revisit your story, think
Mhm.
about, your whys, your motivations and things like that. And so with everything that's been going on, all the changes that have happened this year, I think for you to have a strong, fulfilling, and intentional New Year's resolution that is actually a lifestyle change, it should start now before you go into the
Yes.
holidays.
Mhm.
So, we've already had the head start. We started this journey before New Year's in terms of our health and all this other stuff. And so this just kind of helps me
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
kind of level set, continue to raise my self-awareness and see where am I, identify some blind spots or some potential gaps, and then make the needed adjustments. So that's what I've been reading. Been and it's more of a journal. So that's another thing too. It's something you can
Yeah. Huh.
continue to use
It's a
over and over
working.
again. Yeah. So yeah.
Mhm.
How about yourself, Mom?
I
What you
love
been
that
reading?
book.
Thank you.
Well, this is and I love Break Your Invisible Chains. You all did a great job with that book, and I use it in my social skills class as well.
Oh, well, thank you.
But I'm reading, um, Because She's a Lady, Expressions
Ah,
of Worship. And my older sister wrote this book, and
yeah.
they are
What's your sister name?
poems. And oh, Faye Jones Howard. But
Yeah.
Faye Howard, yeah,
Yeah.
Faye Jones Howard, that's on the book. And I wanted to read a poem today, a special poem, and dedicate it to our new vice president elect and to
Yeah.
all women, the way women came together and strolled on through this voting. All the women. Oh, because,
Mhm.
we, to Kamala Harris, Stacey Abrams, our mayor here in Atlanta, just women all over the country and the work that they have been doing. And this poem by Faye Jones Howard is called A Charge to Women. And this is to all the mamas and sisters and daughters. And, I heard Kamala say last night, or what do you call the
Vice President
vice
elect.
president?
Elect.
Vice
Madam
President
Vice
elect,
President elect. Yeah.
Madam Vice President.
Yeah. First
She was
Madam Vice
saying,
President. Yeah.
yes, first Madam Vice President. That's so wonderful.
Mhm.
She said something about, being a mother.
Mm.
and her children call her uh, Mamala, and she was saying
I like that.
first lady is good, but Mamala is best, you know. And so as women, we do have a lot of charges in our lives.
Mm, mhm,
A charge to women: dare you not step out, woman of valor, mother, wife, homemaker, counselor, compassionate listener, vision seeker, hope finder, friend, companion, defender of the brethren, angel of mercy, pillar of grace, trusted of God, moving spirit. Dare you not step out? Dare you not step out? Did the Lord not choose you to be a woman of authority, the carrier of the seed? Let us arise and go forth, for we are armed with the strength of the Almighty. Faith in God and what He can do is our sound foundation as we proclaim to the world, is not the Lord gone out before thee? And I read this
I love
poem,
that.
and I have in mind our new uh, vice president elect and all the mothers and who've gone before her, Mother Sojourner Truth, fighting for the women's right to vote, our
Mhm,
mother Harriet Tubman fighting for our freedom and our rights as women as
mm,
well.
mhm,
Oh, Mother Ida B. Wells. Oh my God, fighting for another suffragette. And of course, Mother Fannie Lou Hamer. And
mhm.
it just comes on and on and on through the years, all the work women are doing. And I'm just so happy that we have come to a place where we can dispel the myths of all the stereotypes of the Black woman, you know.
Mhm.
And
We'll talk
we
about
have
that.
all,
Yeah, let's talk about that. What are some of the stereotypes of the black woman that you have seen as a black woman that you are glad that we're able to dispel? I didn't want to leave with that because I don't think a lot of people, a lot of us, with black women know, but we have a lot of listeners who aren't black and don't know that you all are
mm-hmm,
going through and overcoming these stereotypes. So can you dig a little bit
mm-hmm.
deeper into that? Like, what is that?
Well,
What are some of the things you had to the challenges with?
most definitely, one of the first things that comes to mind is the angry Black woman. You
Mhm,
know, Black women have always had to be strong.
mhm,
And so we've had to stand, and we've had to be in places that we had to stand for our families where there should not have been any issues, you
uh-huh,
know. But
right.
in protecting our homes and our children, our men, even as
Mhm.
best that we could, because surely there, mm, you know, the struggles as African American people in this country, you know, the boundaries, there are no boundaries. Black women and Black men have faced a lot of challenge,
Mm,
but I will say that the different challenges that are sometimes faced by our men,
mhm.
you know, Black women have had to stand, um,
Yeah, yeah.
had to stand, you know,
Alongside and
alongside them,
yeah.
alone sometimes,
Mhm.
because of what they've been put through. You know, when our men are sent to jail more than others, and
Yeah.
it's so, I don't want to
Yeah, no,
go
I
into
get it.
all
I
of
get
that.
it. That
Yeah.
that is a challenge, and and that's part of why this is, even in doing this, it is honoring the strength of especially the black woman because, what you're speaking to is the understanding of intersectionality. So where not only have you all had to navigate challenges around gender You had to, you also had to deal
Hmm.
with issues around race, and in
Sure.
many cases, so there were a lot of added layers of challenges that you had
Hmm.
to endure and overcome. And oftentimes, if you think about those layers, you could, be seen as, the most marginalized group and least honored. And so that
Hmm.
is something that, we're trying to continue to do our part, especially, I recognize my position as a black man, but I also think that being the son of a black mother, I've seen those instances where you had to be strong, where you had to navigate through those stereotypes, but also, you did it with grace, but you did it in strength, and you did it in very unique ways. You
Hmm.
had to understand where you were going, the environments you were going into, and I don't know. I always looked up to most of my friends growing up, we were all a lot. Most of us were in single parent homes raised by women. So all of us as guys, we will hang out together. But you always got the mom to call the other mom to see if we can stay that weekend. You hope the two moms could. But we saw that, and as I get older, I realized, these were, essentially for that weekend, you fed 2, 3 kids, and it was almost a
Oh,
trade
yeah.
off. And so I wasn't thinking about any of that stuff and what that meant. I just was like, man, I hope she says yes, And so those little things that as you start to grow up, it's like, man, like I see, just all the micro challenges and things that I didn't have to think about because, you tried your best and you did an amazing job of, kind of filling the house with love, no matter what was going on outside of the house. And so
Yeah.
I think that is representation of what, you all have done time and
Hmm.
time and time and
And
time
time again.
again and
Uh-huh.
have not gotten the flowers and the credit due. And so
Hmm.
I'm
Well,
grateful
and
that
did,
to see that. Yeah. Mhm.
oh, thank you. Yes. And Sweet Honey in the Rock, I heard a song by them years ago, washing the floors to send you to college, staying at home so you could feel safe. But anyway, the chorus says, "A way out of no way is flesh out of flesh, courage that cries out at night. A way out of no way is too much to ask. It's too much of a task for any one woman." I don't know why I cannot talk today.
You're fine. Yeah.
Okay, okay, but and I think that just in this society, uh, African American women really have been there for everybody. We've been the people who clean homes, who clean the toilets, who clean, the restaurants, who do the cooking, the cleaning. We have been some working women.
Hmm. In the
I get I'm,
factories,
in the
especially during the
factory.
wars,
Yes.
like in the Industrial Revolution, y'all were heavily there. Like,
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
yeah, all of
And
those. Yeah.
yes. And now you see so much leadership. What it says to me, we've always been leaders, and now this leadership, can be applauded in every arena of life. We just see it in every arena of life, and it's not that other women aren't doing great things,
Right.
but African American women, Black women, have not always been given their due.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so now, for our first vice president elect, as Kamala Harris said, she
Hmm.
said she might be the first woman in this place, but she will
She
not
won't
be
be
the
the
last.
last. There you go. Yeah. And and I think what people have to understand and think about deeply is, this all hits at like the conversations around equity. And
Yes.
when those who have not had their due, when it's been overdue, when they receive
Hmm.
that, everyone wins. Like, so
Yes.
it's not a conversation of we're saying, someone loses because someone else gains. We all win together.
Hmm.
um and so the whole understanding of, just being able to see the progression that's being made and continue and will continue to be made. Like you said, she won't be the last. Representation matters for young
It
girls
does.
of across all races to be able to see a
Mhm.
woman in that office, in that space,
Mhm.
is amazing. It's going to do wonders just for the understanding of, I see someone who looks like me
Mhm.
do it, I think I can do it too. When you talk
Yes.
about self-efficacy, and
Exactly.
you have to see it. That's
Yeah.
part of the thing that gives you that idea that you can do it too, is when you see someone like you go through it and overcome those obstacles and challenges too. So
Mhm.
a lot of good is coming from this.
It really is. And you know what? And when I think about children and seeing people who look like them in these places,
Yeah.
well, for anyone who don't understand that, the truth is when you don't see other people in those places, you don't think they can be there either.
Right, right. Yeah,
That's
it's socialization. You're
yeah,
conditioned to think that.
exactly.
Exactly.
And so all these, well, like they say, the ceilings are being
Hmm.
um,
Broken.
broken. Yes, and so it's a
Absolutely.
good thing.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Cool, cool, cool. Yeah. Well, definitely wanted to, you know, continue to also honor, President-elect Joe Biden and the work that he was
Yes.
doing. And
Hmm.
so, for him to even understand the importance and to have the courage to go
That's
against
right.
the norm and the grain and
Hmm.
all of the other hatred.
Especially
Oh,
mm,
yeah. During
at
this
such a
time,
time as this.
to be
Yes.
able to know who he wanted to call on as his partner, as his his
Hmm.
person beside him to lead to where we want to get into this United
To
States
be an
of America.
example.
Yeah, to be that
Uh-huh.
example.
A
Exactly.
role model. And I think about that word character. We heard a lot about that. We heard that
Hmm.
word a lot yesterday and last night. And it's just so wonderful, especially now
Hmm.
in light of COVID and the fact that
Hmm.
we've all been, at home and
Hmm.
we've been distance from
Hmm.
one another and to have been receiving so many negative messages on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And now we see, I don't know, I just feel that spiritually, this this experience, even with COVID,
Hmm.
has served humanity in a way that we could never imagine.
Hmm.
Because now we are ready to take a leap toward what is really just
Yeah.
and fair. So much has been exposed, you know, that we cannot deny anymore.
Hmm.
We were all walking around in that bubble and just not really, as I'm talking about everybody now
Yeah.
is saying, we can really do something about this. We
Hmm.
can really work together. And what I love is what they're promoting is to come on, it's time to work together.
Yeah.
America is growing up.
It is. It is. And there are some that, don't see it that way too, but I'm hoping that they're listening with the
Hmm.
words of, those who have been elected.
Hmm.
You have the intentionality of the language that you use. We talk about how your language is important in one of the other
Hmm.
podcasts. I think it was You Can Tell Them Who They Are. We talked about that, it's okay for us to disagree on issues and approach,
Hmm.
but it's also okay for us to form understanding. And it's
Hmm.
vital and critical that we communicate through our differences and understand that though we may have more, we have more similarities than we have differences.
Hmm.
And I think that's something that has been um, something that has been needed, given these past couple of years where it has felt so or more divisive than ever. Now it's like,
Hmm.
okay, like let's change the language we use. Let's change the
Hmm.
approach in which we communicate with one another, with that seek to understanding diverse realities. So
Sure.
not that our reality is the only lived experience, but
Mhm.
understanding that, because if we don't understand one another, that we can't show up for one another. And that's something that's, I think, is very important right now. Yep.
We can't help one another either
Right,
if we
right.
can't come to the table with a heart to understand the other person. We
Hmm.
can't help lift someone up if
Hmm.
we don't have an understanding, because otherwise we're just through with them.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Eh,
but,
Yeah,
but we have
that's not what you
learned
want to do.
too
Yeah.
that a lot has gone on is a deep, deep fear. I think that once, for me anyway,
Mhm.
once I just saw certain things as just, this is just plain hatred. Where did this come from? And I have come to realize a lot of things that I colored with the word hatred, I can now see that it's fear.
Yeah,
And
it's
when
true.
we don't
Wow.
fear that, we can be an example. I even had an opportunity to say that in one of my classes the other day to some of my students,
Mm-hmm.
because they were like, hey, I just don't like that. I don't have anything to say to people like that. And my what I said to them was, if we stop talking to people, we have no hope.
No, we don't. We don't.
But if we can stand in a place, now I'm not telling anybody to put themselves in danger,
Right, right. Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, yeah.
but definitely, because a lot of people that we know may share a different point of view that
Mm-hmm.
we may have colored with hope, with hate, colored
Mm-hmm.
as hate,
Yeah.
that it really could be fear. And we have an opportunity to say, hey, I love you.
Mm-hmm.
There
Absolutely.
is no reason to fear. I love for people to work together. I
Absolutely.
love
Yeah.
for people to do the right thing. I love freedom and justice for all. Who can argue with that? But people are fearing that somebody's trying to take something away, and
Sure.
all those other things that have been pushed through the years. It's just not true. And we, as a country, I think we are now growing up from that.
Mm-hmm.
And when,
Yeah. Oh,
go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah, yeah. I agree. I agree. I think the idea of if more people have a voice, that means that my voice will be muffled. That's
Mm-mm.
not true. And like even like I hear a lot in terms of the idea of religion and oh well, we can't we don't have the freedom of our religion anymore. We have to just allow people to do whatever and whatever. Like,
I'm
no,
sorry.
for one, it's not your place to mandate that on other people, but
Mm-hmm.
it just means that you still honor and live your life according to your beliefs, but you just don't you're not able to hurt, harm, or discriminate from someone who is from a different belief system than you. And I think that that's the conversation where it has to be led with that understanding of that fear. It has to be replaced, like you were saying, with that love and respect. Like, let's work together. You can celebrate how you need to celebrate here, and I'm going to celebrate how I need to celebrate here, and we can be respectful in our differences. But at the end of the day, God is
But
God. I mean, it's just one source, so it's
mhm.
like,
Well, and then
I don't know. Different.
unfortunately in politics, I
Yeah.
think people use religion
Yeah.
as it's. uh, I don't, it's, when you get ready to talk about religion and politics, it can get real complicated
Yeah.
because, you know, uh, if your religion allows you to harm someone else,
Yeah.
come on, that right there alone is breaking the law. So
Yeah.
don't bring that to the table.
Right. Right.
We're
Absolutely.
talking about a table where everybody is seated. Everybody
Hmm.
has a seat.
Yep.
And how do we make it at this table where everyone has a seat?
Hmm.
Because that is everybody's right. So how
Absolutely.
do we live together with all of us having the rights? There's no first class, no second class.
Hmm. Yeah.
Those days are over.
Yeah.
So we have to find ways to walk together in love.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's funny because just thinking about the election and even with you know President-elect Joe Biden. I remember the first time I voted, and it was for him and former President Barack Obama. I was in
Uh-huh.
undergrad at North Carolina A&T. I think it was a 2008 was I believe that was that election, but it was an amazing experience as at an HBCU. I voted, you know, I think it was on campus. It was either on campus or we walked to wherever the polls were.
Mhm.
But I want to say they had a polling station on campus. But we had a watch party in our student union. We had, CNN up, and I just remember when they announced that he had won, like the whole university just was a party. But it was just people were just so happy.
Mhm.
We were in the streets on campus. We were jumping in the reflection pool. Uh, Young Jeezy had just put out a song called "My President Is Black," but we had never seen the
Right.
idea or the imagery of someone
Mm,
being
mm,
able
mm.
to get to that, break that ceiling. And I just remember I was with my cousin Brittany, Brittany Jones, and my girlfriend at the time, Tori, and we had a great time. We had an amazing time. Those are memories I'll never forget. But it
Mhm.
just the representation there was it gave us so much hope, and we felt like we were a part of
Mhm.
the political process, part of our community. We made a
Mhm.
difference. And I think that's just so powerful. It's so powerful. So that
Mhm.
feeling, that familiar feeling to come back, um, I think is why we saw such a huge turnout. I think people now know that, their vote matters, it counts, but also
Mhm.
we can't look to just a president or vice president to make the changes that we want. And I think that
Mhm.
the challenges of 2020 around COVID and social injustice and movements on all levels made us understand that we're not necessarily looking towards a leader, but we need to work within our circles of influence, within our
Yes.
communities, and
Mhm.
understand how we can create more equitable
Mhm.
policies for those around us and have those
Mhm.
conversations around us. And so as we make our individual areas better, it
Mhm.
continues and it continues to
Mhm.
build in other
Mhm.
spaces. And so we're not necessarily looking for a celebrity to tell us how to vote or, or a
Right.
rapper in this case.
Exactly.
There were so many rappers that were like telling us who to vote for this year. I was like, I don't care what Lil Wayne votes for. I wasn't looking to him for political advice. I like Wayne, but I don't want him to give me open heart surgery just because he's a great rapper. So why am I going to trust him to tell me who to vote for? So I'm just anyway.
Uh-huh.
But that was just interesting. But people understand like you have your own, mind, you have your own community, and we all have a part to play in these conversations, in the change that we want to make. And so I'm just
Mhm.
hopeful and
Me
thankful for
too.
where we are.
And I love it because something about this brings about a certain kind of unity, the expectation of working together. We're not just working to get a vote in. We will
Mhm.
be working to help make the changes. We
Right.
will be working as a country, as a nation,
Mhm.
to right these things that have been so,
Mhm.
that have been wrong,
Mhm.
and fix them, and form better relationships with one another. I just
Mhm.
feel so hopeful.
Yeah.
I know that's in the air, and a lot of people, there were a lot of warnings coming out about being safe and how there was
Yeah.
going to be some problems, but I really hope that nobody wants that.
No, I
Nobody
don't think
wants
so.
that. I don't think people want that.
I think, yeah, and I think messaging in the language can have you nervous and thinking, well, if it does happen, which I hope it doesn't, I want to be protected. So people were in this constant state of fear, and
Yes.
it's like we don't have to live in that state. We don't have to buy into that.
Mhm.
We I don't know, like our country is the most diverse it's ever been. And
Mhm.
so those who represent us in all places, whether it's organizations, whether it's, corporate, whether it's politics, should reflect our makeup of our country.
Yes.
We should have diverse panels at all spaces and places so that everyone's voice is heard as we continue to, look and navigate how we operate as a, a country in 2020, in
Mm-hmm.
2021 now. But yeah, I'm just really excited for it all.
Me
Another
too.
thing too that I think is really great. Again, I got on my HBCU grad hat, which is like my favorite hat to wear. Kamala Harris, another historic move. The first, HBCU attended vice president, or or to hold either president or vice president office. She is a graduate of Howard University,
Yes.
and also a member of the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. We first fam, the Alphas and the AKA is very tight, as well as the Deltas. My wife is a Delta. That's why you see elephants
Mm.
everywhere. Pay homage to greatness, but we
Oh
do want
yeah.
to honor and respect, her and her work, and how Howard, we they often, we talked about stereotypes and overcoming these stereotypes. The concept that an HBCU education didn't prepare you for the world. We're breaking those
Exactly.
ceilings again.
Yes.
So it's like, hey, Howard can get you to the White House. You see what I'm saying? And
All
so,
right.
and an A&T can get you a doctorate. So
Yes.
most people don't know that the majority of doctors and lawyers and those who got advanced degrees had they received their undergrads from historically Black colleges and
Mm-hmm.
universities.
Mm-hmm.
So again, these are just stories and stereotypes that we've always had to overcome, and I'm
Yes.
glad that we're seeing more stories of our excellence, and
Yes.
that our education is just
That's
as
right.
good, and prepares us for the world. And so wanted to kind of really, touch on that too. So
And I'd like to encourage any parent to, pay close attention to what you just said,
hmm
because I think your child will be well served
hmm
by going into an environment where they are not having to worry about any kind of discrimination.
hmm
And that's a foundation that prepares a child, a student, a young adult
hmm
for anything going forward.
yep, yeah,
And that's part of what our HBCUs know is a
hmm
charge of theirs
yep,
to do, to prepare the young people to go out and get these higher degrees from any. It teaches them to compete anywhere,
hmm
you know. And it's also an opportunity where if there are some places that you need something, there's somebody there who cares enough to make sure you have it.
yep,
I'm not saying that does not exist at
right,
these other schools, but when you are few in number,
hmm
and that is not the when you're not having that kind of oversight,
hmm yeah.
it makes a difference.
It does. It does. And HBCUs are the most diverse universities as well. So I think
Hmm.
another thing too, if people have never
That's
been
true.
in the classroom or on a campus of an HBCU, you probably think it's just all Black people. HBCUs are over. I know at A&T when I was there was over 32% non-Black, and
Mhm.
was continuing to rise. So you're talking about people from all walks of life that are coming there
Mhm.
for a high quality education.
That's right.
They're in an environment where those types of conversations around,
Yeah, and what the School of
yeah,
Engineering at A&T, I tell you, we
mhm,
need to be so careful because I know it's one of the top engineering schools in the country.
largest
And
producer of Black engineers in the country. Yep.
and when
Mhm.
you have, I was reading about A&T, and they are credited with the greatest homecoming
Homecoming.
ever,
G-Ho.
which
Yes.
which is this wonderful
Which it
homecoming.
is as
Yes,
well.
it is. But academically,
Yes.
top school
Yep.
before the homecoming.
But again, and that's the language that we use. A lot of folks come to A&T that didn't go to A&T, and they come for
Hmm.
the homecoming. So all they
Hmm.
see is the swarms of people, and
Hmm.
and, and just
Hmm.
amazingness, and just so much excellence. And fried
Yes.
fish, and all the good stuff. You don't gotta. You show up to campus. You don't have to know anybody, but you're gonna find somebody that you know.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna be somebody's unofficial cousin by the end of the day, and
Uh-huh.
you're gonna eat good. You're gonna drink good. You're gonna
You'll
have
be
a
well
great
taken
time.
care of.
That's it.
Uh-huh.
That is the embodiment of an HBCU experience. It's
Mm-hmm.
so the homecoming, yes, it is the greatest homecoming on earth. We did a great job marketing that too, and it brings over $13 million to the Greensboro area for
Mm-hmm.
that weekend. Huge
Mm-hmm.
and profitable and needed. It also brings back money to the institution in terms of
Yes.
alumni donations, in terms of just people who show up and
Mm-hmm.
give those dollars. So we need that. But like you said, that's just one of the many things that makes A&T and all of our HBCUs amazing. A&T is now
Right.
the largest historically Black college university in the country. It's
Mm-hmm.
the largest one. They continue to just drive forward, excellence across the board. They're just knocking it out the park. I'm so proud of
Mm-hmm.
being Aggie and have attended. I wouldn't be a doctor if it wasn't for the HBCU experience because,
Mm-hmm.
my mentors that were there, Dr. Austin,
Mm-hmm.
and just so many others. I can't even name them all.
Right.
When I remember when you told me a story I didn't know about when I first went to orientation. You met what was the dean of the College of Ag at the time? Um, gosh, what was his name? Was he Dr. Austin as well? Oh,
No. Well, it was ALSTON. Wasn't it Alston
well, Dr.
or
Austin,
Austin or AUST? The man from Winterville?
yeah, from Winterville. So Dr.
Uh-huh.
Austin was my advisor, but the dean at the
Uh-huh.
time, gosh, I think it was Dr. Austin as well. But he was from Winterville. I can't remember his name, but I
Uh-huh.
it's just slipping my mind right now. But
I
yeah, he dropped me off and told me, hey, look, this my son. Take care of him. What was that like, for your son to be off? I know you were excited for me to go, but
well,
what
well,
was
they
that
sure,
environment? Yeah.
well, they sure did take care of you. I went to visit you at the in your department one time, and I walked around the department. Jaron's picture on every bulletin board in the school. I didn't know he had done this, he did that, he was this, he was that. I said,
Yeah.
you didn't even tell me all this goodness.
That was the
So,
norm. That was the
yeah.
expectation. And it
Mm-hmm.
was like, oh yeah, be the president of this, be VP of that, be in this
Mm-hmm.
club, go to take advantage of every opportunity.
Yeah.
I'll never forget. I was in a animal science class, and names are slipping me right now. Gosh, my professor there. I can see him. I can hear his voice. He talks really fast. Everybody knows they're gonna get me for forgetting his name, because I know his name. I know his name, but it's slipping me right now. But he made something. He was he was a great orator and speaker, and he spoke fast. He had to listen real hard and concentrate. He said, don't just go to the pyramids. I want to climb them. He said, I went to Egypt. I want to climb the
Mm.
pyramids. And he was like, don't just be here. Like, kind of, take the most of every advantage and opportunity. And like that really stuck with me. And I was just like, man, like,
Yes.
yeah. And also, for me, it was seeing other Black men as professors and teachers. I hadn't seen that before. I hadn't I
Mm-hmm.
That was my first time having a Black professor ever.
Sure.
Mr. Medley was my band teacher. He was great. And Mr. Fleming was my band teacher at DH Conley. He was great too. And
Mm-hmm.
I modeled, I liked, what they represented and the strength that they
Uh-huh.
had. And that was beautiful. But I had never seen it in terms of deans and like kind of
Sure.
equivalents like principals. So seeing these folks who had traveled the world and were
Mm-hmm.
telling us to come back and do the same thing, it was just something
You
that's
got to
very
find
empowering.
out who said that because that's a wonderful quote. Don't just see the pyramids, climb them, or you know.
Yeah, yeah.
uh,
Gosh, I gotta
I'm
figure.
thinking the word explorer, even.
Yeah, yeah. What was his name, man? I feel like it starts with an R. I'm gonna get in trouble for forgetting his name.
Uh-huh. Mhm.
But yeah. So we also wanted to, I think where we are in our show notes, we wanted to continue our conversation around honoring our elders. I think you had spoken to it a little bit earlier, but I didn't want to end the podcast if we hadn't already kind of gone through everything around, the shoulders who we stand on. And so we're talking about Sojourner Truth, and you
Hmm.
mentioned some of the other women in the suffrage movement. So wanted to kind of revisit that just in case we didn't
Okay.
cover everything.
Well, I did have a thought that when we talk about family, and
Hmm.
even in honoring our own family, and we think about our mothers and grandmothers and our sisters, since we're kind of honoring women today, you
Hmm.
know, I'm thinking about my show, The Life of Sojourner Truth, and I'm working on Fannie Lou Hamer and writing on Mother Ida B. Wells as well. And I used to do a one woman show on the life of Harriet Tubman. So I have that in my repertoire as well. But when it comes to Sojourner Truth, my sister Faye, who wrote Because She's a Lady, wrote
Hmm.
the theme song, um, Jubilee.
Mm.
It's our dear
Yeah.
Lord's year of favor. Now it's time for Jubilee, and we're walking into a Jubilee right now. And we need this.
Hmm.
We need this. We need to hold on to that feeling, the hope that we have right now with this new administration. We need to hold on to it. We need to make it happen.
Hmm.
Each of us needs to be a part of making it happen,
Hmm.
because that's how it works with all of us working together. So um, so anyway, with the show Sojourner Truth, Journey Towards Freedom, my journey towards freedom, the legacy lives on. Um, my one of my best friends, Deborah, wrote my opening song just
Yeah.
to show how we share in our families. I can see people who I knew 30 years ago. They'll say, Miss Sandra, you still sing that song? When I get up in the morning. And
Absolutely.
yes, I mean, so that's the opening song with Sojourner Truth. Then my sister Mavis, um, as an experiment, I gave her a free writing experiment. I challenged her to do this and set up the scenario where I had researched Sojourner's Truth's first love experience, where she fell in love for the first time
Hmm.
with a young man from another plantation. So, as a free writing experiment, I challenged my sister to allow me to set up a scenario, and she had to promise me that she would put the pen to paper and just start writing,
Yeah.
because I knew she's a creative spirit. But
Uh-huh.
the thing is,
Yep.
I said, you have to believe that this story wants to come through you. And that year, our whole family, about 13 of us, wrote
Hmm.
stories with that same challenge. But anyway, my sister Mavis wrote the scene in the play uh, that I ended up using for in the my story of Sojourner Truth,
Yeah.
which was based on her real truth.
Right, right.
And people say, "Oh, that made me cry." So it's just so much we come together and we can do, and I just think it's a wonderful tribute, because when we work together, we are working together one with another, but
Hmm.
we are also bringing all those that came before us.
Right,
So
right.
and I think I have heard Oprah Winfrey say something to that effect. And maybe she was telling what someone else said, I don't know. But just talking about showing up. And when you show up, you're showing up with all those who came before you. So
Hmm.
I'm not just walking into the room.
Yeah.
When I walk into the room, oh man, when I walk into the room, I'm walking into the room with my mother. Uh oh. Uh oh. Uh oh. There she is.
Yeah.
I'm
Hey,
walking into the
grandma.
room. Hey, grandma. Hey, mama. And Mother Fannie Lou Hamer,
Hmm.
and Mother Ida B. Wells, Mother
Hmm.
Harriet Tubman, Mother Sojourner Truth, and on, and all the women that we did not know. Oh, Jaron,
Hmm.
something funny about some of these women.
Hmm.
You know that Sojourner Truth integrated the trolley cars
Mm-hmm.
when she was in Washington, D.C., and the driver pushed her off the car. She was determined she was going to ride too. And he dislocated her shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
And she sued and she won, and they integrated the trolley cars. Ida B. Wells, of course, they later, Jim Crow laws came, and of course, segregation again. And Ida B. Wells has a story of being on a train and being uh, the driver trying to throw her off, and she bit the stew out of his hand. and so they have a lot of stories that are very similar. So this
Yeah.
struggle had gone on for many years, and so
Hmm.
I know they are rejoicing,
Yeah. Yeah.
and yeah, and it's time to rejoice.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, and the challenges they just it's a cycle. A new challenge
Hmm.
comes up, and like you said, those simulators still come and
Yeah,
show
my
up in different
mother,
ways.
mother had to was asked to sit in a move on a train, in a bus or something in Virginia. Well, I'll put this back
Oh
later.
wow,
And so
wow,
she wouldn't do it, and she was had to get off the bus, but she refused to sit wherever it was that they wanted her to sit because I'm sure that it was not a proper place for her to be even.
yeah. Like a grandma out here doing her thing. That's what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
Man, well, again, we are just excited for the announcements and the progress that's continuing to be made and will continue to be made in the future. Um, you know, Black men, women continue to celebrate and honor women. If you want
Mhm.
to do something nice, if you think about some woman who has made an impact in your life, give them their flowers, celebrate them, um, and honor them in their story, because it's long overdue and well deserved. And so,
Well, with
um,
that being said, Jerry, I just have to say my male best friend just brought me flowers this morning. I
what?
didn't some flowers.
Man, that's
Sure
awesome.
did. Isn't that
Yeah,
awesome?
that is. And so hopefully
Uh-huh.
somebody else will get some flowers too. That's beautiful.
Uh-huh.
I love
I heard a knock at the door. I went
it.
to the door and there were my flowers.
Oh, you can't beat it. Well, make
Yeah, it's
somebody's
great.
day. Why not?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Well, before we close,
Thank you, Peace.
yes, Uncle Peace. And Uncle Peace just celebrated a special birthday, and I
He did.
realized that I have not called him yet. So I am sorry, Uncle Peace. It's coming.
Mm.
It's coming. I'm in trouble. But congratulations on another birthday, another year of life in that celebration. So another great actor and singer, just great human being. So excited
Mhm.
for him to celebrate another year of life. Before we close again, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Apple Music, Spotify, Anchor, YouTube, you name it, I'm uploading it. So, one
And
thing
if
that
you
we
like us and share.
yes, please like us, share it with someone. If you get something from it, share it with someone who might receive something from it as well. Comment in the comment section. Again, when you review us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, it allows us to be found and seen by other people who may be looking for this content. So that just helps us to continue to grow. Again, we're only creating this because we want to create an opportunity to spread the wonderful things that we have learned throughout our lived experience, and hopefully other people are getting something from it. So please, feel free to reach out and engage with us. And before I close too, I know we normally start the podcast with Mother to Son, but hopefully we can end it with Mother to Son as the outro. What do you say?
Okay, sounds good. I just one
All
more
right.
little thing I want to stick in there
Sure. Yeah.
because I'm always inspired by my son's TED Talk, Jaron's TED Talk. Honor your story, discover your sound, and you can find it on YouTube.
Yeah. Go
Jaron
ahead. Look at
Jones.
that.
Uh-huh.
Share that too. Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
Well, Son, I tell you, life for me ain't been no crystal stair. It's had tacks in it and splinters, boards torn up, places with no carpet on the floor, bare. But all the time, I's been a climbing on, turning corners, reaching landings, sometimes going in the dark where there ain't been no light. So, boy, don't you turn back. Don't you sit down on the steps 'cause you find it's kind of hard. Oh, don't you fall now. 'Cause I still climbing, honey. I still climbing. And life for me ain't been no crystal stair.
Well, thank you again. Wonderful
Thank
woman
you.
extraordinaire that you are,
Oh,
orator and actress. Thank you for that poem. I know the audience thanks you for it too. It even embodies, the Ain't I a Woman, podcast and episode that we did today. So, what a great conclusion. So, oh, yeah.
thank you, son, for your always encouraging words and your support.
Hey, we do what
Thank
we
you.
do.
All
Dynamic
right.
duo. Let's do this thing. All right, everybody. We love you. We hope you are having a wonderful week and this Sunday, continuing to a wonderful work week. Yep. Continue being
Love
awesome.
y'all.
All
And
right.
love you and Tari Jaren.
Yes, love you too. We'll see you soon.
Peace and blessings.
Peace and blessings.